I am very curious about this.
This isn't even really a tech thing. This is just kind of a workbench thing because what we did is we had this machine come in, and me and Eddie both decided it didn't sew well enough, and we didn't feel like fixing it, and it wasn't worth fixing.
And we're not going to tell that name either, are we?
Oh no, it was one of those. It's gonna. But what we wanted to do is we actually did a cutaway of this machine. We actually took the
you really hacked into it.
Yeah, we cut the front cover off because I wanted this to demo for people. I'm waiting for another cheap machine to come in so I can make the comparison. But since I don't have them, I'm going to explain it to people.
Yeah.
One of the things you get when you're buying a sewing machine, the reason I wanted to talk about this is if you look, I mean, you can see all the innards, but that's not what I want to talk about today. I mean, well, we can get into that, but I'm not going to because we don't have all night. What's important about this machine is you can kind of look down here and you'll see that you can see the aluminum frame. There's also, if you look closely, you can see that all of these components are anchored. You can see down, see that this aluminum down here. So you can see that everything on here is anchored to an aluminum subframe. So this whole machine has an internal aluminum frame that holds everything together. And the reason I wanted to show this to you is this is not how all sewing machines are made. So when you've got yourself a $120 Amazon special.
Oh, we should crack one of those.
Oh, I'm waiting for one to come in and I'll crack it. Because what's very fascinating is where everything...
I would buy one just to crack it.
I might.
You have one?
Which one? I know, and I ended up throwing it out because it was garbage. No,
this one's new.
Well, I had Eddie do a nice job of cutting this one open, so the next one we're going to cut open and put next to it.
Okay.
But so if you have a cheap Amazon or Walmart machine...
So this isn't a cheap machine.
This is still an inexpensive machine.
Okay.
But it's not the bottom
of the line.
Of the line, because you've got that aluminum, that metal subframe that everything's hooked to, gives it a little bit of weight, but more importantly, nothing's going to move. If you get a cheap $200 or $100, I think the CS600i, they're fairly inexpensive machines. They don't have that aluminum frame.
Is that like what you get at Walmart?
Yeah, what you're going to get at Walmart. What'll happen is if you actually take the plastic off, you'll find that all of this is actually bolted to the back, to this back plastic piece. You can almost feel the difference in the plastic. The plastic's a little bit different, but everything up here is bolted to the plastic cover. So it doesn't have the aluminum, so it doesn't have that metal subframe. So there's a couple reasons that they do that. The biggest issue is it saves on cost. You can zoom out if you want, Eddie. Is that saves on cost because they don't have to worry about the aluminum and all that. And it also makes the machine lighter. There's a significant difference in weight between this because it's got that metal frame. But the problem is plastic is very malleable. And so if you take the cover off that, you can actually take the end here and twist
That means it bends and twists.
It bends and twists, yes.
Yeah.
So you can actually take your hand and I can twist this and you can see the whole needle move. And what happens is over time, if you do a lot of heavy sewing, you will start to wear that plastic out and your tolerances start to go and the machine pretty much is ready to throw away.
You can't really do
You can replace parts and stuff, but you have to replace the plastic that it's anchored to really make it work properly. So that's one thing to watch out for. I can list you all the models that do it, and I'm not saying that a plastic machine like that is a bad machine. If you're only sewing, if you're putting a total of 4 hours a year on your machine because you're hemming pants or something like that, it's a really cost-effective way to go because you don't need something high-end. You just want something that'll lay down stitches. But if you're doing 10 hours a week, you're going to burn through that machine in about 6 months because it's not made. Because it's not anchored properly, you're going to eventually sew through it. So I just wanted to point that out because you also get the other age-old debate of metal versus plastic because you get an old Singer and people are like, I got this old Singer, it's made of metal, so it's better than your newfangled junk. But the truth is, this still has a metal interior, and one of the things from a tech standpoint is I actually prefer the plastic gears to the metal gears.
Because this has plastic gears.
Yeah, and you're going to find all modern machines have plastic gears. Or most of them. The upside to a plastic gear that nobody talks about is when a plastic gear breaks, it's broken. You can see the tooth missing on a plastic gear.
Versus bent.
Metal tends to bend before it breaks. And what'll happen on an old machine is you jam it up, bend one of the teeth or one of the cogs, you'll never find it because it's out,
So you have to replace the whole
You end up, you start just replacing stuff trying to figure out where it's messed up because you can't see what's broken, whereas plastic breaks. You're going to see it's broken, let's replace that component. Whereas metal may fatigue and be out of
I
tolerance.
never saw how they dialed in what these dials did before. That's kind of cool.
And that's-
There's a little tooth there that.
Yeah, and that's another kind of interesting side
Yeah.
note. Everybody wants like, oh, I want I don't want a new computerized digital machine. What's interesting though is if you're one of those people that likes the environment and efficiency and all that, everything on this machine it's an analog, so there's not digital. Everything runs off this motor here.
Yeah.
Everything is powered by this motor, and these cams figure everything out.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So that it's interesting from an engineering standpoint, but from an efficiency standpoint, it's super inefficient because of all the friction and everything you have, and this motor has to drive everything.
Yeah.
New modern machines have about 6 tiny little motors, at least 6. The Luminaire, I think, has closer to a dozen motors that do different things. So they've done away with all these plastic gears and cams, and it's all done with a little motor, which is a lot more energy efficient.
We should crack open a Luminaire.
We could.
That would be something.
Oh, well, maybe we'll make a special episode where we crack a bunch of machines open and you can see the difference. But it's just something to consider that newer machines, the computerized ones, are a lot more efficient because they don't have all of that mechanical drain, all that friction and everything moving. So if you look at a new machine, the motor is about a third the size of that. And because all that motor has to do on a new machine is drive the needle up and down. The motor doesn't have to turn the cams and everything. They've got separate motors to do the zigzag. They've got separate motors to adjust feed dogs.
That's cool.
But anyway,
Never seen inside a machine.
I just
like
want to show
that
that if you're in the
interested.
market for a machine or you're looking for just a second machine,
And this one is really cheap. We'll give this to you for $1.
I actually
Now we're gonna keep it because
we're keeping
it's a
this
nice
one.
demo.
But I do have a couple machines coming in. They're gonna be I want to say they're gonna be about $200. They're not super high-end fancy machines, but I had to order. I'm just people are always coming in looking for a starter machine, and it's not going to be computerized. It's going to be an analog machine,
yeah.
but it's going to be about $200, and it is going to have the internal frame and all the stuff to make it last. You're gonna, if you do get it, and you start sewing, you're gonna come in and trade it in for something else. But if you just want a little machine, I should have those in.